Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hutchinson City Council for Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll approve the council agenda. Any agenda additions or corrections?
Mayor, Council, I don't have any additions or corrections for you tonight.
Alrighty, then invocations from Hunters Ridge Church.
Gary, you need action.
I'll make a motion to approve those first.
All right. Motion by Chad, second by Mary. Any other discussion? Roll call. Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, now invocation from Hunters Ridge Church.
Aye.
Well, good evening, everyone. Let's take a moment to begin tonight with prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we are privileged to be able to be here tonight. And I just want to say thank you for our government and our city council here in the city of Hutchinson. I pray that may they and all of us really be seeking the welfare of our city here. I thank you for all of these city council members, our mayor, Gary Forcier, and all of the others, Lord, that take time, spend time seeking the betterment and truly the welfare of Hutchinson, Minnesota. Lord, I ask that you would give them wisdom in the decisions that they will be looking at and perhaps making tonight. Lord, I pray that you'll help them deal well with disagreements and conflict that inevitably comes with being in leadership, and especially in this city. Lord, I want to pray too for our police and our fire community, and I thank you for those who protect and defend us, and we ask that you would protect and defend them as well. Lord, I want to pray for our world, especially the turmoil, politics going on in our culture today. Pray also, Lord, for this pandemic and for it to be done soon. But Lord, in all that they do, may they seek your wisdom. We ask now your guidance upon all that they do. I pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Thank you. Next is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recognitions of gifts, donations, and community service to the city. Does anybody have anything tonight? All right, we do have a couple resolutions. We have a resolution number 15268, resolution accepting $100 donation from Russell and Lorraine Erickson for the Law Enforcement Memorial Park Fund, and resolution number 15271, resolution accepting $2,000 donation from the Village Ranch to the Hutchinson Fire Department.
I'll make a motion to accept them.
A second.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to accept the donations. Any other discussion? All in favor, roll call. Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comment. Matt, do we have anybody that wants to address the council?
Public? No, Mayor, we don't have anybody here today.
Alrighty, approval of minutes. We have regular meeting minutes of December 22nd, 2020, and the organizational meeting of January 4th, 2021.
I'll make a motion to approve both those minutes.
I'll second.
Motion by Mary, second by Chad to approve the minutes. Any other discussion? All in favor, roll call. Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Consent agenda is done with one motion unless somebody wants to pull something off for discussion. A is approval of entering into an external sales agreement with Tall Sales Company Incorporated for Creekside Soil Bagging Products. B is approval of purchase of wheel loader for the Public Works Department. C, consideration for approval of items for wastewater treatment facility headwork improvement, letting number 2, project number 21-2. There's 2 resolutions underneath there. Resolution number 15269, resolution ordering preparation of report on improvements, and resolution number 15270, resolution receiving reports and calling for hearing on improvements. D is claims appropriation and contract payments, register A. Is there anything that anybody wants to have pulled off?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve consent agenda number 1. Any other discussion? Roll call. Brandon? Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have claims and appropriations and contract payments, register B. I do have a check for my business on there, so I'll be abstaining.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary to approve register B, with myself abstaining. Roll call. Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Motion carries. Alrighty, we do have a public hearing, so we will skip over and we should be able to do a liquor hutch report. Matt?
Yeah, we've got 20 minutes till 6 o'clock, so we should at least be able to get Candace's report in. So,
All right. Well, let's have Candace come up and give us the lowdown on the liquor store.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So this won't take 20 minutes. We should be fine. It's really always difficult every year to tell you in just a few minutes what's happened at Liquor Hutch in the past year, and this year is even more difficult. It's been a very busy year. Fortunately, though, for all of us, the things that happen at Liquor Hutch are very quantifiable, and it's bottom line numbers that really we always want to report to you. So we'll start with our first slide, which shows you our sales. Matt? So this is our sales history for the past 15 years. That starts in 2006 when we remodeled the liquor store and expanded it. At that point, our sales were $4.4 million during that first year after expansion remodel. And this year, or last year in 2020, our sales were over $7.6 million. The next fund shows, or the next slide shows our fund transfers. So in the last 15 years, Liquor Hutch has transferred over $6.3 million to the city's general fund for the many purposes that you deem it used. I have on this slide showed in 2020 that we are budgeted for a transfer of $500,000 to the general fund. I think that, as you'll see, our profits are going to greatly exceed that, and there's some work to be done to determine exactly how much Liquor Hutch will actually transfer. But I've just shown you the $500,000 that we were budgeted to transfer. The next slide shows some of our sales breakdown. So you can see that in 2020, we did $7.6 billion in sales, which was a 20.7% increase over our sales from 2019. Our liquor sales actually increased the most. They increased 20.8%. Beer sales increased 20.7%. And wine sales increased 16.9%. I think it's important to note that while these sales increases in our off-sale business are quite high, the national trends and the state trends, because our on-sale alcohol industry partners have been closed sporadically on and off, overall, the sales of alcohol have not changed that much. Nationally, liquor and beer sales are not up significantly. Those sales are just going through the off sale. Wine sales actually are down to some degree, and that's a reflection of the fact that a lot of wine sales occurred in restaurants, along with food pairing and that kind of thing. So nationally, wine sales overall are actually a bit down. Liquor and beer sales are fairly flat. These increases that we're seeing are increases that are coming through the off sale because of the restrictions due to COVID in other venues. Our customer counts were up about 3.5%, and that makes our average sale up $4.30 per customer. That's a huge jump in our average sale. It usually goes up by maybe 5 cents a year. So $4.30 represents a very large increase. Again, that's due to pandemic factors. We were seeing people, we did go up in customer counts, so we were seeing more people, but they were actually limiting the number of visits they were making and making more purchases or purchasing more while they were in the store. So that makes some sense. It's a pandemic trend for sure. Our gross profit percentage actually went down a little bit. And that, if you go to the next slide, please, Matt, that's a result of the fact, one of the trends from the pandemic is a shift to those higher volume packages. As I said, we were seeing people, maybe not as often, but they were buying more when they were in. There was a big shift to 24-pack cans of domestic beer, which in our industry is a very, very competitive item. And for that reason, it runs at a lower gross profit. 24-pack cans of beer are our number one selling package in the store. And when we see a shift in those gross profit percentages, they're going to be reflected in our overall gross profit. So that is what happened. That's why we're a slightly lower gross profit overall for the year. Another big trend that we saw this year was ready-to-drink cocktails. I think basically that's because people were not allowed to go to bars and restaurants, and they were not interested in making their own cocktail. They came in and made or picked them up pre-made, ready to go. Small size products were also a big trend, having, the small size bottle of wine so you could have your one glass of wine with dinner, that kind of thing. Seltzers have been increasing the last couple of years, and they continue to increase. That's just a whole new trend in the beer industry that continues. Interesting thing that we saw this year is a increase in low alcohol, ABV, alcohol by volume products. So the industry terms them as kind of like healthy products, if that can be said. So these low ABV products are across the board. We have beer products, we have wine products, we have liquor products in the store now. We have more products than ever that are non-alcoholic, that have 0% alcohol. These are products that actually have been fermented and then the alcohol content has been removed. So they do have the flavor, they do have some of the characteristics of the alcoholic product, but they are now 0% alcohol. We saw a great increase in that trend in sales this year. Unfortunately, one of the things created by the pandemic, one of the trends was vendor out of stocks. We were out of stocks on products far more often than we're comfortable with. Nothing really that we can do about it, something that was out of our control. That continues to happen as we are stocking in January now. We're still out of many, many products. This is a result of, for our distillers and our breweries in the nation, they have, first of all, higher volumes going through some of those distilleries and breweries, but also they're dealing with quarantine and health concerns and, labor shortages, just like everybody else in the nation is. And another thing that we found this year, increasingly, our most effective advertising is from Facebook and Instagram, direct email, more social avenues, social media avenues that we're seeing our greatest results from. Some things that we've been doing that are ongoing that we continue to find successful, actually new this year, online purchasing. We started online purchasing in July with a very soft start so that we were very busy and the processes were brand new for our point of sale, our computer provider. They were brand new for store staff. So we wanted to give it a soft start and make sure that we all understood what we were doing. We're always very cognizant of the fact that we deal in a controlled product. We are very careful with our sale. We're very careful to be sure that we are checking IDs and that we are watching for levels of intoxication. And the online processing brought a new avenue, a new way that we were going to have to do that. So we wanted to do a soft start and make sure that we were well in control of this before we did any real marketing. So you can see our sales from September to December. We started right after Labor Day. We started doing some marketing on our online sale or online purchasing. So far, we had done about $15,000 in sales. Not a lot when you consider our overall sales volume at the store, but I think a very, very important process that we put in place because of the pandemic, but also because of overall trends in retailing. Everyone's moving to this idea that we can order conveniently from home and just pick up our product. So that was a big push for us this year. Our loyalty program continues to do really well. We now have over 7,700 members in our loyalty program. It was a difficult year to judge exactly what effect that is having given the effect of the pandemic sales. But definitely we feel that we have customers who may go elsewhere who are coming back to us because they tell us all the time, I was in St. Cloud, but I came home because I want my loyalty points, or I work in the cities, but I came back to Hutch to buy because I want my loyalty points. So we know it's having a positive effect. We have Ad Match Mondays that we've continued to do for many years. Gives our customers who are really value driven an opportunity to get some pricing that they might have gone out of town for. And we have continued our 15% off craft and import beer sales on Thursdays. Of course, we always do newspaper advertising and do features around the holidays. And one thing that we found that really worked this year was multiple pricing. So We did for instance, we did a rack of wine for Christmas that was 3 bottles for $30 rather than $15 per bottle. And it kind of played into the fact that people were trying to make fewer trips, but purchasing more. And it was very successful for us. In 2021, some goals. One of our goals is to put together a 5-year plan for facility updates and improvements. I'll be honest with you, this was actually a 2020 goal, but it did not get accomplished because there was a couple other things going on in the store. So we did not get it done in the way that we want to. We have some framework started, and it's a goal in these first few months of this year to put something together that will allow you to see what we need to do at Liquor Hutch now that we have retired our debt on our improvement. We have some extra gross or net profit, and we need some of that net profit to be given back to the store so that we can make some improvements, just do some basic maintenance on our building. Ties into what will happen with the PD in the next year or two. Maybe we can tie in some painting, things that we need at the same time. Maybe we can realize some savings that way. We want to put together a real plan that will help us all to move forward in the best possible way. Another thing that happened in this last year, we, of course, along with everybody, we were struggling for help. We were doing more business than ever. We had some really great loyal staff that stuck with us through the whole thing, but we needed help also. Fortunately for us, we found some people who had good experience, and they were able to come in and just kind of hit the floor running. But I have to acknowledge that we did not do the kind of training that we prefer to do. And so one of our goals for 2021 is to once again get our training program in place, our policies and procedures program in place, to do more product training, which we did not have the time or did we feel was appropriate to do because it brings people too close together. Didn't give us opportunities for the social distancing that we would desire to do. So one of our goals for 2021 is to improve upon our training. Another goal, given the social responsibilities that we feel we have a role in at Liquor Hutch, we want to explore some partnerships with public health. This is something that we have done in the past at different times. I think because of the number of people we're seeing and the increase in the sales that we're seeing, it's appropriate for us in 2021 to again explore some things we can do with public health, just to educate our customers about the proper use of alcohol. We have, right now I'm working with an organization in the state that is about fetal alcohol syndrome. And we're working with them to put together a program where they would donate some bags, just regular bags that you get when you buy a bottle of wine or a bottle of liquor. And the bags would have a lot of information on them about the prevention of fetal alcohol syndrome. And we would use those in the store to get the message out. So it would be things like that that we would like to partner with and just, try to play a role in the socially responsible use of alcohol. And then going back to our online ordering system, it's fairly new for us. It was brand new for our point of sale provider, our computer provider. So there's some refinements that we need to do there. There's work to be done. So that's another goal. We'd like to end 2021 feeling like that process is really easy and effective for our customers. And lastly, it was a crazy year. So I think it's really important that we say thank you, that we appreciate everybody that has played a part in it. It was a very successful year at Liquor Hutch in that we had a lot of processes in place that, we're a high volume liquor store regardless of the pandemic. we had a lot of processes in place that we were able to rely upon and fall back on. But we need to say thank you to our customers, first and foremost. We, went through some things that were beyond our control. They waited in line longer than they should have. They didn't always find exactly what they wanted on the shelf due to the out of stocks. They were very patient and very understanding, and it's appreciated. Obviously, the Liquor Hutch staff. When we started the pandemic, I said to them, we can do this because we have holiday weeks like this all the time, right? Well, during the holidays, we do this. We know how to do this. We didn't really expect to do it every week. That just was not the expectation. But they did it. They were dedicated. They came in early. They stayed late. They were exhausted, but they kept smiling and joking with each other. They were just such a positive influence. So very appreciative of that. I want to thank the city council. I want to thank you for the fact that you trusted us to navigate through the pandemic. I have some colleagues in other cities where that didn't happen, where stores were closed or hours were changed dramatically, and they're still trying to recover their sales from those decisions. So there were big decisions to be made, and I thank you for trusting us to make this work. I appreciate it. And then, of course, the city staff overall here at City Center. We have so much support here, and they're always accessible to us, from the administration and the legal team, to finances, to human resources when we need help, to the IT department when we're trying to, come up with this crazy idea at the last minute that we're going to do online sales. They do everything they can to support us. So overall, just a really great year, a challenging year, but thank you all. Thank everybody for helping us get through it.
Hey, Candace,
Yes.
how's the Sunday sales going?
Sunday sales through this entire thing have pretty much maintained what they were before. So our average Sunday sales are right around $10,000. Which is enough to justify our staff being there. It certainly pays for the labor that's involved, and it's convenient, and it keeps our customers here coming to Liquor Hutch rather than going out of town to make a purchase on a Sunday, because stores are open all across the state on Sundays. So it's part of, marketing and just being competitive in our industry that we're open. Fortunately for us, that we do enough volume that it does make sense also.
At this point, are most liquor stores open on Sundays?
I don't know if I could say most, but I believe that many are, yes. I know a few municipal liquor stores at this point that still have limited their hours by maybe an hour in the morning and an hour earlier at night, that kind of thing. But most stores are back in full operation and have been since June or July.
Well, Candace, we all appreciate what you've done. I know sometimes I drive by the liquor store and I'm going oh my God, they can't get any more people in there. Mm-hmm. But you handled it, and your staff was wonderful. So hats off to you and your staff.
Oh, thank you. If you get an opportunity, if you're in the store or see them somewhere else in the community, if you would tell them thank you, that would be appreciated too.
Candace, you lost a few employees. Mr. Klitsky, I believe, is one of them. Was there anyone else did you lose over the year?
No, actually, I think we lost Dave the summer before.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Boy, time flies by, so.
Yeah, I have to say that when the pandemic began, I thought that we have a number of part-time employees who are retirees, And I thought that we may lose them just for health concerns. I mean, many of them, they don't really need to work for the money. That's not what they're doing. They want to be social. They want the interaction with other people. And I thought that they would make choices to not work. We gave them the opportunity to take kind of a hiatus, to say that I don't want to work during this time. In the beginning, we didn't really know what was going to happen, right? Nobody did. And so we gave them that opportunity, and nobody took that opportunity. Everybody said, no, we're a team, we're going to do this. So it's pretty great.
Has mask compliance gotten any better? I know you were having trouble with that at one time.
One of the things I will say that the staff has had to deal with that has been very unique in my career in this industry is the politics and the mask compliance issue. The two things went hand in hand for us, but mask compliance was always like 90% or higher in the store. It was rare that we had a day that it was below like 92%. But I will tell you that these strong emotions are also felt by Liquor Hutch staff, right? So there were days when somebody was in without a mask that it truly feels like, or felt like an assault, that person chose not to wear their mask, right? Because we work with the mask on our entire shift. They haul freight, this is physical, very physical work, and they're doing it with a mask on. And then someone comes in for a 10-minute visit and they can't put a mask on. It's a little frustrating for staff. But I give them credit that they worked their way through it. That we gave them all the protection that we could. We made sure they understood they didn't have to get too close. If somebody chose not to wear a mask, we tried to get those people in and out as quickly as we could. But we followed the mask mandate as written by, the governor's office. And while sometimes it was very difficult, I don't think we experienced anything different than other forms of retail in town, either, or in the state.
Yeah, I get your frustration. I still get people in the shop, and obviously my customer counts this time of year aren't anything because it's January in a bike shop. But yeah, I get people just about every day that you have to remind them. It's like, this has been going on a long time. Can you just figure it out? I mean, my kindergartner has to sit in school all day with one. Can you just do it for 10 minutes? It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating, but I guess when you work in retail, you work with a lot of different people and a lot of different opinions, and you learn very quickly how to manage all of that. It's part of the job.
Yeah, actually, in my shop, I'm pretty fortunate. Usually, everybody that comes in does have a mask on. So, but I there's always one or two that don't. But what do you do?
Yeah.
Anything else for Candace?
Just thank you for all your hard work, Candace. It was a lot of work, and you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candace.
Matt.
Yep. Thanks, Candace. So,
Alrighty.
it is 6 o'clock, so.
Yeah. Public hearing on the proposed one-year extension for Uponor Incorporated to meet business subsidy goals. And there's a resolution underneath there, resolution number 15272, resolution granting one-year extension for Uponor Incorporated to meet business subsidy goals.
Mayor and Council, we do have EDA Director Miles Seppold here. He can, introduce the reasoning behind this and then hand it over to the council for, public comment. So.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Matt, can you make me a presenter? I can just put up a few slides.
Sure. We will do that. So.
Okay, there we go. Can everybody see that okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you just a quick, all right, let's see if it's going to, well, shoot. All right, let's try this again. Okay, I might have to just do it like
Let's go
this.
forward, Miles, not backwards. So,
Oh, okay. All right, that's,
never mind.
well, no, I mean, okay, let's try it again here. Okay. No, that's not going to work. All right, that's fine. We're just going to do it.
I keep seeing a black bear at midnight. I don't know.
That's about what I get out of it too, it looks like. So that's okay. We'll just muddle through.
Say, Miles, you're at the end of your presentation. That's why you're running into that problem.
Oh, all right. All right. It's late for me. Okay. Now we're in business. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of the situation, a little bit about the company history, and then answer any questions that you guys might have. So this won't take very long at all. Uponor there requesting just a 1-year extension to attain business subsidy goals. A couple years back when Uponor first came to town, the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development was very involved in that process. And, you know, Uponor, they had opportunities to expand out of state. And the state of Minnesota obviously wanted to keep them in the state, and naturally here in Hutchinson, we wanted them here. So working with the state, some business assistance was put in place to help make the project work here in Hutchinson. And one of those pieces was a forgivable loan from the Minnesota Investment Fund. It's actually state dollars, and there's no Hutchinson dollars involved in this at all, actually. But in exchange for this forgivable loan, the company had to create 83 new jobs in Hutchinson by December 31st of 2020. And the reality is that they just plain missed the goal. And that really, more than anything, is just because of the pandemic and the way that affected the economy this past year. So as a result of that, Uponor is requesting just a 1-year extension to hopefully reach that goal of 83 new jobs. Like I said, it was really the pandemic more than anything. Shutdowns and restrictions just impacted sales for those guys. And so they went on a hiring freeze basically through the middle of last year. And then in the fall, now they've started to hire additional staff. So just a quick background about the company itself. I mean, Uponor is a very large company. I mean, they're in 30 different countries. Headquarters is in Finland, and they have operations here in the United States. Their North American headquarters is in Apple Valley. And then, you know, they sell all over the world, really, and almost 4,000 employees worldwide. So 2019, it was over $1.3 billion in sales. So it's a big company. And they've got a major presence here in Minnesota. So in addition to the Apple Valley headquarters, then they opened up this facility in Hutchinson, and they've been ramping that up. So they opened up the Hutchinson facility, I think, 2018, and they've been working on that ever since. So Uponor is a really nice place to work. It's been ranked as a top workplace in Minnesota for 5 years in a row, at least, and really just a terrific place to work. So what the company does, Uponor, they make plastic piping. Everything in your house that used to be a copper pipe is now a plastic pipe. And that's what Uponor makes. It's the piping itself and then all the couplings and all the things that go with it. And so it's not only plumbing type fixtures and so forth, but also in-floor heating and stuff like that. So it's a very successful company, and you know, really the future, I think, when it comes to plumbing and how all that is handled in new home construction. So I talked with one of the company representatives just yesterday. It was 7 o'clock in Finland when I talked to him. And he said, yep, we feel good. I mean, we're hiring more people this year. I should back up a step. Like I said, 2018, they expanded in Hutchinson. They bought the former HTI production facility, 238,000 square feet. So it was a major investment in our community. And currently they have 50 of these extruder machines that are operating, and they plan to add 8 more this summer. And like I said, now they're hiring and they feel very optimistic about this summer. Home sales are picking up, and actually they're really, at this point, they're kind of struggling a little bit to keep up with demand. So I think things look really good for the Hutchinson plant, and that, long term, I think Uponor plans to be just continuing to add more and more of these extruder machines, and they'll continue to add employment for years to come. One other thing about Uponor, they've gotten involved in the community quite a bit, and they've become major supporters of the Tiger Path initiative at Hutchinson High School. Big financial contributors, and then they also help out by sending staff over to help with some of the classes and so forth. So just a great support for the community. I think that's really about it. That's a little bit about the company and their history and where it's going. So they're asking for a 1-year extension to hit their job creation goals, the business subsidy goals. The EDA board, we talked about it at their last meeting, and they're recommending approval. I think that's it. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, one question I had, Miles, was, and you answered it already. I was just wondering how many extruders they were running, because I remember when they first started out, they had 12, and my gosh, they got 50 now.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Miles, this is Dave. How is the state affected by this, if they're affected at all?
I don't think the state's affected in any way. I mean, we're allowed, the city's allowed to give a 1-year extension to help the company hit their goals. And so the state is fine with it. I mean, it's not uncommon these days, actually, given everything that's going on with the economy.
Yeah. I just was curious. Thank you.
You bet.
Say, Miles, and a point of clarification, because I know, I think it was actually a headline noting that it was an extension of a loan that the city gave. That's not correct. This is simply state funding. Part of the mechanism, though, is that we have to sign off on the extension. There's not, I think you noted earlier, but there isn't really any financial impact to the city here.
Right, that's correct. Yep. I mean, what happened back in late 2017, we put in an application to the Department of Employment and Economic Development, because the way the program works, the Minnesota Investment Fund, it's actually a grant to the city. We turn around and lend it to the company. So really, there's no city dollars in this at all. So it's really state dollars, and we lend it to the company. And the arrangement was on the front end that this would be a forgivable loan, assuming that they hit all their goals. So, and I think that was everybody's intent from square one.
All right, is there any other questions from the council? Otherwise, we can open it up for public comment.
Do you want to come forth and address the city council on this issue? Mayor, there's nobody in attendance tonight to discuss the...
All right, thanks, Matt.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it. Motion by Chad, second by myself to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Roll call. Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Miles.
Here you do have the resolution then.
Oh,
that requires
sorry.
council.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 15272.
I will second that.
Motion by Mary, second by Chad to approve the resolution. Any other discussion? All in favor, roll call. Brandon,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Alrighty, that's it,
All right.
Miles. Thank you.
You guys have a good night.
Yep. Moving on, review of 2020 City of Hutchinson Pavement Management Report.
Mayor and Council, John Olson is here, and he'll give the annual report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. 2020 Pavement Management Report. The short version is that this is exactly why we started doing this some 25 years ago, is to get to a point where we actually could carry a score, a pavement management condition index from over a period of time. And that happened between 2017 and 2020. We actually maintained our system-wide PCI at 76. So this is exactly what the point of pavement management is to try to sustain the pavement in a good condition. We've been using, like I said, this system for 25 years. It helps us manage what is worth our pavements that are worth well over $100 million to the people of Hutchinson. So it makes sense for us to do everything we can to use available funds in the best way possible. This information provides us with important information about the pavements and allows us to schedule maintenance activities and projects in a manner to keep the costs of maintaining pavements as low as we can over a period of time. The pavement condition index is conducted by a physical survey. So there's actually people on the road. They measure, they count cracks and defects in the pavements. And we do that typically every 3 years. PCI's a graduated scale. You start out with 100, which is a brand new street, no defects at all. And as you catalog different types of distresses, they're given different values depending on their severity. And eventually you get down to low PCI that, theoretically you can get down to 0, which is a fully deteriorated street. We further categorize to help us understand the system. We use an excellent, good, adequate, marginal, poor breakdown that helps us categorize mainly for what types of maintenance activities are feasible for those types of streets. Our cities, we've always had a stated goal of keeping our PCIs between 65 and 75. A couple of years ago, we did a survey of other communities in Minnesota to see what their stated goals were for pavement management, and most of them came in, the average was 70. So we're kind of on a little bit before and after that. I think it's wise for us to pick a range in that, as you can see on the second page down, it'll show the last few years that we've done our system-wide ratings, and they've ranged anywhere from 66 up to 76. So it's very rare that you get 2 readings in a row like we did in 2017 and 2020 at 76. But again, that's the ideal situation, because what that tells us is that the mix of projects that we selected and the amount of funding we applied to the system kept the system the same. And that's really ultimately what the point is. The majority of payments are rated on a regular basis. On page 3, the city has a few streets that aren't rated, of course, because they're either gravel or they're undeveloped. So we have 2.6 miles of that. Obviously, the city and the county, the county and the state are responsible for their own roadways, so those are also not rated. Over time, our total pavement inventory tends to grow at an annual pace of about 1.5%. And that's been pretty steady over the last 20 years. In 2020, there were no new construction and no streets turned back to the city. We have 90.1 miles. MnDOT operates 6.7 of those miles, county 6.1. That leaves us 77.2 of those. 2.6 miles are not included as rated streets because they're unpaved, undeveloped, or they are not in service. I think the good news is, assuming our 2021 to 2025 CIP that we recently adopted, it appears our system-wide PCI will remain above or within that 65 to 75 range. Obviously, our prediction assumes the proposed spending levels remain in place and that there's some provision given for future inflation. Maintenance overlays, we talked about a little bit about this last year in the 2019 report. Our data again indicates that we need to do some more maintenance overlays. This is likely, I think, because for the previous years, we were really focused on a biennial Sealcoat project. And I think what's happening now is that the streets that are candidates are in a little poorer condition than they were for the Sealcoat streets. So that's prompting the maintenance overlay to be considered. So you'll find in the capital improvement project that we do have several overlays identified in it, and also for using the infrastructure maintenance funds, you'll see quite a few maintenance overlays from that funding source as well. Many of the streets in poor condition are in the area of the recreation center, and most of those will be addressed over the next couple of years as part of that South Central Trunk Storm Sewer project. Another grouping of streets in the downtown area have been identified as being in marginal or poor condition, and a third grouping is up in the Clifton Heights addition east of Michigan Street on the northeast side. The public works operators typically will focus on streets that are in excellent or good condition because the maintenance efforts for those streets are very cost effective. Once we get down into the adequate rating, then we need to determine if there's some other things we can do to extend the life of that pavement. Once streets slide down into that marginal or poor condition, they're usually too far gone, and it becomes an issue of maintaining them for safety related issues until we can get a project to do them. We use a number of different strategies to maintain pavements. You can see them there listed in kind of the most expensive to the least expensive. I think an important thing to look at is the project development and the mix of projects that we've used over the last 10 years. Because what this tells us is that our capital projects have touched about 24.4% of the total network. What does that mean? Means a street lasts 40 years. We need to get 40 years out of a street. Our maintenance projects, virtually all the streets have been touched mileage-wise in the last 10 years. Also a good measure to aspire to touch everything once in a 10-year period. Whenever possible, we develop projects to maximize pavement lifespan. The ideal situation is we can choose a less expensive maintenance project, do it early in the life and at critical points in the life of a pavement. But like everything else, eventually it will get to the point where it needs to be reconstructed. Our maintenance budgets and the CIP, again, should keep us in that 65 to 75 range. One of the things, and the caveat, is always weather-related issues, frost damage. Obviously, in 2019, most of you can recall that we had significant frost damage resulting in about $164,000 of additional repairs. We typically will do a lot of that work on our own, coupled up with contractors once it comes time to patch and to pave. I want to say our operators have continued to improve their patching and small area paving skills. We're set up well for that. We've been placing in a typical year about 150 ton. Over the last couple of years, we've moved that up to 400 ton. And those are high quality local repairs that are being done. So obviously, when it comes time for budgets, capital and maintenance funding sources are limited. We realize that. Another thing to think about is that oftentimes we can't use all of the money to specifically affect system-wide PCI ratings. There's always other parts of a project like utilities and street lights and trees and trails, sidewalks, all the other things that go with it. And they're obviously very important, but they do not affect the PCI score. So over time, the more we spend on those others, it can result in lower driving our PCI system-wide down. We have been using the software in many different ways, putting different budgets in and different scenarios in, and we found that looking out over a 20-year period to determine the best 5-year mix of projects, what we do is we look at it of maintaining the existing PCI, increasing PCI by 10%, and then also decreasing PCI by 10%. And what happens is oftentimes you'll get projects that appear in all three scenarios. And we typically select those because of their significant economic value or their positive effect on the system-wide PCI rating. So that's one of the tools that we use to select projects. Obviously, there's a whole litany of others. So we get into the budget recommendations, and budget for pavement projects ends up at about $3.3 million per year. And the vast majority of those, of course, are capital. It's telling us that we're in the ballpark on our capital funding. If anything, we're a little bit short by about $125,000. And if we get down into the maintenance area, we're very, we seem to be in good shape with that, with general funds plus the infrastructure maintenance funds. So the rest of the information is there for you to take a look at. I just wanted to highlight, it's on page 15, and that's why do we choose to work primarily on streets in good condition. To some, that may not make a whole lot of sense, but what I wanted to do is help everybody understand why we do what we do. Most of the public works efforts that we do focus on sections that have PCIs above 50. Why do we do that? Because, well, first of all, we have capable operators who are skilled at making local pavement repairs. We have adequate equipment. The city owns the equipment we currently own allows us to do those in a high quality way. For smaller local repairs, contracting is often more expensive. Contractors will typically tend to focus on larger jobs, so the bigger contractors are usually willing to do small local repairs if there's a pretty decent profit margin in them. PCIs from 51 to 100, repairing the defects typically is cost effective, and it also affects the PCI of the section. Whereas once you get down into the 50s or below, repairing those defects is typically not cost effective, and it typically doesn't have as much impact on the PCI rating. So we tend to limit maintenance on streets that are at 50 or lower to make ourselves most concerned with maintaining them for safety concerns and hazards. And so by focusing our equipment and our resources on the sections with PCIs above, we actually results in us touching more streets in any given year. So that's kind of the background of why we do what we do. And like I said, the information beyond in the back there, some of the charts and graphs and, all kinds of the pictures and whatever, if you have questions about them, certainly Kent and I can address those with you, and we'd be happy to do so. So thank you.
Hey, Tim, can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes, ma'am.
How often do you seal coat a street?
That's a good question. Typically, we won't do that more often than every 7 years. There would be, we do have it set up where we have a 7-year in between seal coats. That being said, seal coats aren't necessarily always the answer, and certainly we can do them multiple times. We have several streets that have been seal coated 3 times at this point. We have others that we haven't seal coated at all. It just depends on the types of distresses that we're seeing on the section.
Okay, and I noticed that when I read through that, it said seal coat and fog coat. What's
Fog
is that?
seal, yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. What we do is we put down a seal coat, and a fog seal is put down a layer of oil on which you put a layer of rock, and you roll that material in so it gets locked in. Those rocks get locked in. Then what we do is we sweep up the excess rock, and then we put another coat of asphalt on top of the rock that we swept. That locks those rocks in. When we don't do that, we tend to have a lot of rock loss, and it ends up in people's driveways, it ends up in the garage, it ends up in the kitchen, it ends up, and it's frustrating as a resident to have that happen. So the main reason we do it is to lock the rocks in and to, get a much better quality product from it that way.
Well, thank you for enlightening me.
Mm-hmm.
That was my questions for you too, because the technology of pavement care has changed a lot in the last few years, right, John?
Definitely. It changes all the time. We probably are early adopters, as some would say, particularly when it comes to preservation methods. We've found and we've got it independently confirmed through the work that the Agricultural Utilization Research Institute has done, that the replay agricultural sealant that we put on, which is primarily soybean oil, has made a very strong impact on preserving our pavements and to keep that PCI up in that excellent range for a long time. We're able to, we've treated several of the roadways a second time, and we're certain that we can go 3, maybe even 4 times before we see a need for any higher level of maintenance on some of these streets. So it's a very positive effect. Financially, it's one of the lower cost options on the list. And then it tends to maintain that PCI at a higher level for a longer period of time.
All right, anything else for John?
John, the subcontractor you guys have been using, I don't know if it's the same group or not, on the bike paths and stuff around town, does a really nice job. Like in front of the middle school and out on Century, I mean, those trails had really big gaps, and like out by Menards. And is it a subcontractor you use, or is it your guys, or who's doing that? Or?
It's a little of both. I think that in particular was a subcontractor, and it really comes down to materials, and the materials available to maintain pavements have improved dramatically over the 20 years I've been playing this game here in Hutch and 30 plus years in Public Works. But the one that helps the most on the bicycle trails with those wider gaps is a mastic product. It's kind of a mix of aggregate, asphalt, and what would traditionally be called a crack fill rubber. So it really
whatever
works
they're
well.
doing, it definitely is nice. It doesn't look like it'll be smooth, but when you ride over, you don't feel it, and because some of the cracks, especially in front of the middle school, there were some real big gaps. You could have lost a 7th grader in, and now they're good for riding. So thanks for all the work on that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I was going to add too, and one of the reasons that we like to share this information is, we have a plan and a purpose behind, the work that we do on our streets. And I think sometimes we hear frustration about, well, why isn't this street getting done, or why isn't that getting done? And there's a method and a mayhem behind everything that we do. As John noted, we have over $100 million in streets, and when we're doing anywhere from probably $3.5 to $5 million a year on those improvements. It obviously takes quite a bit of time to get through the whole town, and I think in some cases residents would like to have the whole town done in 2 or 3 years, and you could look at what type of investment would have to be increased to really get to that. So like I said, there's a purpose behind what we're doing, and I know sometimes it gets frustrating, but like I said, there's a reason behind it. And I think John and Kent and their staff do a good job of kind of explaining, how we determine which roads are getting replaced when.
Well, Matt, we could do it that way. All it takes is money. So
I think John and Kent, they have that magic coin that they flip. Anything else for John? Alrighty, thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you. And if there's any questions, don't hesitate to give us a jingle. So thank you.
All right, we have no unfinished business. Moving to new business. First reading of the ordinance number 20-820, ordinance adopting revisions to the section 11.02 and 11.08 of the Hutchinson City Charter.
Mayor and Council, I'll hand it over to City Attorney Mark Sabora, who will kind of give an update on this. So.
And thank you, Mayor and Council members. You might remember at our last meeting in December, we had a public hearing to talk about these possible charter changes. And I had finished that hearing process by letting you know that to put these changes into effect, we would have to pass an ordinance. And so before you tonight is the first reading of this ordinance that would propose to change 2 sections of the city charter, both dealing with the eligibility to serve on the Hutchinson Utilities Commission. The first proposed change to section 11.02 talks about who can serve on the Utilities Commission, and that pool of candidates has been expanded to include people who are an owner of a business whose principal place of business is within the city of Hutchinson, which is a ratepayer of the Hutchinson Utilities Commission. And in addition, that same section is proposed to be changed to state that one of the 5 members, only one member can be a non-resident business owner. The other portion of the charter that's proposed to be changed is really necessitated by this first provision that we just talked about. Currently in the city charter, you have to be a resident of the city of Hutchinson, and one of the grounds for removal is failure to maintain your residency within the city. Obviously, if we're proposing to change the eligibility requirements to allow people who don't live within the city, that failure to maintain residency provision would have to be eliminated. So it's proposed that that is eliminated, and language would be added to talk about removal from the Utilities Commission if you fail to maintain the qualifications necessary for appointment to the Utilities Commission. So before you is the proposal to change those 2 sections of the charter. It's the first reading of the ordinance. I'd ask that you approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I will second.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary to approve. Any other discussion? Roll call. Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Amendments to the pandemic staffing policy number 3.35.
Yep, Mayor and Council, I'll take this. You may recall, at least probably everybody but Brandon may recall that last spring when we ran into the COVID-19 pandemic, one of the things that we did was we updated a policy that deals with our staffing, and in particular, we granted all employees an additional 80 hours of leave, of paid leave, in the case they had to deal with circumstances surrounding COVID-19. But the caveat of that policy was that that was going to be effective when the city was in a state of emergency. Several months ago, we ended our state of emergency. Unfortunately, we still have employees that are having to be quarantined or having to leave because of either becoming infected or being in close contact with somebody who was infected. And so not all of our employees used the 80 hours that was assigned to them. And so what we're asking is just a simple amendment that would give me some authority to at least grant not any extra hours, but to employees who maybe have not had the opportunity to use that 80, the ability to use that in the case that they would have to leave, take a leave of absence from the city during a time that we're not technically declaring a state of emergency. So that's, I guess, the one change that we're asking the council to consider.
I don't see any problem with this. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second it. Motion by Chad, second by myself to approve. Any other discussion? Not roll call. Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Setting council workshop for February 9th, 2021 to review fund balance policy.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this was also another item we discussed at the last meeting in December. And staff has been working on doing some updates and upgrades to that policy. And so we'd like to have a workshop that we'd schedule for 4 o'clock before our first meeting in February.
I'll make that a motion. The workshop to be February 9th at 4 o'clock.
I will second that.
Motion by Mary, second by Chad to set the workshop. Any other discussion? All in favor? Roll call. Brandon?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Governance, we have the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee meeting minutes from December 18th, 2019 and September 16th of 2020. Library Board minutes from September 21st of 2020. And Hutchinson Utilities Commission minutes from November 25th, 2020. Matt, does John still there? Does he have anything else for us?
No, John doesn't.
Is there anybody else there tonight?
Mark or Tom? Mark actually does have something. Hold the phones here a second.
Right, don't be too shocked, but I had just wanted to remind the council that prior to the next council meeting, we have match review session. I think that's set for a workshop at 4 o'clock that day. And I believe Brenda Ewing had forwarded the council a lot of materials to complete Matt's review. And just a reminder to get those items back into Brenda so she can compile all the information with plenty of time to spare before the review session. And that's it.
I think it was just the good ones. If it's not a good one, you can take your time. So
she won't be getting any?
Mark, you said that out loud, but that's all right.
I know.
Brandon, I'm sorry. I should have welcomed you to the council. I should have done that before, but now that I welcomed you, do you have anything for update?
No, just thanks, and happy to be here with each of you. It's going to be fun.
All right. Dave, do you have anything for us?
No, nothing more than what you were going to do is welcome Brandon to the city council, and looking forward to working with him.
Chad?
Brandon is playing fast and loose with the word fun, I feel. So, but I would like to welcome him to his first meeting. This one was pretty low key and pretty short, so that's good. This week, Matt and I and Darren Vanderheiden and Brenda got to sit on 6 interviews for the PRCE director, and the process was really good. We came up with 2 really good finalists, so maybe Matt will fill in how that process is going to wrap up, but I think the council and the city organization is really going to be happy with the results of that interview process, because I was really happy. So outside of that, I did not have anything.
Thanks, Chad. Mary?
Well, I just wanted to welcome Brandon aboard also. Wait till we start in with the budget and all of that. That's the fun part. The only thing I was going to say is, for those of you that have asked, how long we're going to keep the hope sign up, it's been kind of a decision to keep it up a little longer. That a little bright light in our downtown is a good thing, and the hope sign is good for everyone. So that's it for me. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, Mary. Matt?
A couple of reminders. First off, city offices are closed next Monday for Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. For those of you that are on the union negotiating committee, we do have a meeting next Wednesday at 2:00. It's on the sergeants. And then, as Chad noted, we had our second round of interviews last week with 6 candidates, and we've selected 2 finalists. And they'll have one last round of interviews, and that will take place next Friday. So it'll be a week from this Friday. That will include some interviews with staff, myself, school district, and if any of the council members are interested in attending a session, that will be in front of the staff and directors, just to kind of let me know, and I can let you know when that's going to take place. And as Chad noted, I'll be honest, I think we interviewed 12 and we had 6. We had 6 really good candidates. And I think we'll be happy with either one of the 2 finalists that were selected. So it's been a good process, taking some time, but that's all right. And so I'm hoping that we'll have somebody appointed by the end of the month with the ability to, after they notify their current employer, to be able to start here in the next probably middle of February, end of February. So it's kind of where we're at in that process. And that's it for now.
Thanks, Matt. Just want to remind everybody that, I know I say it often, but there's a lot of scams going on out there. So please be careful when somebody contacts you. Either, give a call to our Chief Gifferson or something, to somebody, and just check it out. I know there's a lot of elderly people that lost quite a bit of money through scams. So just be careful. So otherwise, enjoy the nice weather. I think it might turn south here, but have a good evening, everyone. Adjournment's in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary to adjourn. Roll call. Brandon,
Aye.
Dave, Chad,
I.
Mary.
Aye.
Hey, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.